In the industrial heartland of America, Marcus Thompson, a factory worker from Detroit, discovers the timeless principles that transformed Andrew Carnegie's life through Napoleon Hill's teachings. When economic hardship threatens to destroy his dreams, Marcus must apply these fundamental laws of success to transform not only his own destiny, but inspire his entire community. This is a story about the power of definiteness of purpose, the mastermind principle, and the unwavering faith that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. The autumn wind swept across Detroit's industrial district, carrying with it the acrid smell of steel and the promise of another harsh winter. Marcus Thompson pulled his worn jacket tighter as he walked home from the Ford assembly line, his body aching from 12 hours of repetitive labor. At 32, Marcus had spent the last decade dreaming of something more than the endless cycle of punch cards and paychecks. Tonight, as he passed the local library, something drew him inside. There, on a worn wooden table, lay a dog-eared copy of The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill. The librarian, Mrs. Henderson, noticed his interest. "That book changed my late husband's life," she said softly. "He was a factory worker too, until he discovered what Mr. Carnegie taught Napoleon Hill about success." Marcus opened the book and read, "All achievement, all earned riches, have their beginning in an idea. If you are ready for the secret, you already possess one half of it." That night, in his small apartment overlooking the factory smokestacks, Marcus read by candlelight until dawn. He learned about definiteness of purpose, the starting point of all achievement. Hill's words resonated deeply. 95% of people drift aimlessly through life without a definite purpose. Marcus realized he had been part of that 95%, but no more. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through his window, he took out a piece of paper and wrote with trembling hands, "I will become a successful entrepreneur, creating a business that serves my community and provides employment for at least 50 families. I will achieve this within 5 years through determination, continuous learning, and service to others." He signed it and placed it where he would see it every morning and night. For the first time in years, Marcus felt truly alive. The burning desire had been ignited. The transformation began immediately. Where once he saw only routine, Marcus now observed everything with the eyes of an entrepreneur. He noticed inefficiencies in the factory, unmet needs in his neighborhood, and opportunities hidden in plain sight. His co-workers noticed the change. "What's gotten into you, Marcus?" asked his friend Joe during lunch break. "You're different." Marcus smiled, clutching the folded paper in his pocket. "I've discovered something powerful, Joe. I've found my definite major purpose." 3 weeks after discovering his purpose, Marcus knew he needed help. Napoleon Hill's second principle echoed in his mind. No individual has sufficient experience, education, native ability, and knowledge to ensure the accumulation of a great fortune without the cooperation of others. That evening, Marcus gathered 3 people in his modest living room. Sarah Mitchell, a bookkeeper with dreams of financial independence. Robert Chen, an immigrant mechanic with innovative ideas but limited English. And Janet Rodriguez, a former teacher who understood people and possessed natural leadership abilities. "I've called you here because I believe we can achieve more together than any of us could alone." Marcus began, his voice steady with conviction. Napoleon Hill called this the Mastermind Alliance, 2 or more minds working together in perfect harmony toward a common goal. He shared his vision, a community-focused repair and restoration service that would not only fix appliances and vehicles, but also teach residents valuable skills, creating a cycle of self-improvement and economic growth. Sarah leaned forward, intrigued. "The numbers could work. If we reinvest profits into training programs, we create multiple revenue streams." Robert nodded enthusiastically. "In my country, we had cooperative workshops. People learned trades, fixed their belongings, built community." "Is good idea." Janet smiled, seeing the potential. "Education through practical application, that's how people truly learn and grow." They formed their Mastermind Alliance that night, agreeing to meet weekly, share knowledge freely, and support each other's growth. Each member brought unique strengths. Marcus provided vision and determination. Sarah contributed financial acumen. Robert offered technical expertise, and Janet added educational methodology and people skills. Within a month, their combined efforts had identified a perfect location, an abandoned automotive service station that could be leased. More importantly, They had developed a clear plan and begun building the specialized knowledge necessary for success. Specialized knowledge is power. Marcus read aloud from Hill's book during one of their meetings. But knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when it is organized into definite plans of action. Their mastermind was no longer just an idea. It was becoming reality. The rejection letter from the bank hit like a physical blow. Insufficient collateral. It read, request for business loan denied. It was their third rejection in 2 weeks. Marcus sat in the mastermind meeting that evening, the weight of disappointment visible in his shoulders. Maybe we're being unrealistic, he said quietly. Janet placed a firm hand on his arm. Marcus, remember what Hill wrote about faith. He said, faith is a state of mind which may be induced or created by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind. Sarah opened her notebook. Look at what we've already accomplished. We've identified our market, developed our service model, found our location. These weren't accidents. They were results of our organized effort. Robert nodded vigorously. In my village, we say, the mountain is climbed one stone at a time. We know, stop now. Marcus pulled out his worn copy of Hill's book and read, every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. That seed came in the form of Mrs. Henderson, the librarian who had first introduced Marcus to Napoleon Hill's work. When she learned of their struggles, she revealed something remarkable. Her late husband had left a modest fund specifically to help entrepreneurs in their community who demonstrated the principles he had learned from Hill's teachings. He always said that, when people truly understand and apply these principles, they must be supported. She explained, the fund isn't large, but it's enough for a proper start. But the real breakthrough came when they began applying Hill's principle of going the extra mile. Instead of waiting for funding, they started serving their community immediately. Marcus used his evenings to repair neighbors' appliances for free, building relationships and trust. Sarah offered financial literacy workshops, ***. 6 months after forming their mastermind alliance, Marcus stood before their first official customer in their newly opened community, Skills and Repair Center. The modest space buzzed with activity, people learning to fix small engines, balance budgets, and develop marketable skills. The transformation hadn't been easy. They had faced countless obstacles, permit challenges, equipment failures, skeptical neighbors, and their own moments of doubt. But Napoleon Hill's principle of organized thinking had guided them through each crisis. Accurate thinking is based upon 2 major fundamentals. Marcus had learned, first, separate facts from mere information. Second, separate facts into 2 classes, important and unimportant relative to your major purpose. When city regulations threatened to shut them down before they could open, they organized their response systematically. Sarah researched the legal requirements and discovered they could operate as an educational cooperative. Robert identified which equipment modifications were truly necessary versus merely suggested. Janet organized community members to speak at city council meetings about the center's value. Their organized approach worked. Not only did they receive approval, but the city council commended their initiative and offered additional resources for community development programs. The breakthrough moment came during their weekly mastermind meeting in the center's small office. Sarah was reviewing their financial projections when she looked up with amazement. Do you realize what we've accomplished? We're not just covering our expenses, we're profitable. And more importantly, we've already helped over 200 people develop new skills. Marcus smiled, remembering Hill's words, success comes to those who become success conscious. Robert had news too. Ford plant manager came by yesterday. He wants to send workers here for additional training. Says our graduates are his best employees. Janet added, 3 of our students have started their own small businesses. They're creating jobs, just like we envisioned. But their success brought new challenges. Demand was overwhelming their capacity. They needed to expand, but growth required careful planning and additional resources. This was where Hill's principles of organized thinking and planning became crucial. They spent the following weeks analyzing their operations, identifying what could be systematized, scaled, and replicated. They developed training modules that could be taught by their graduates, creating a multiplication effect that would serve more people while creating additional income opportunities for their students. The power of organized Thinking was transforming their small initiative into something much larger, modeled that could be replicated in communities across America. Asterisk. 2 years after Marcus first discovered Napoleon Hill's principles, he stood on the platform of the Detroit Business Association's annual conference, looking out at an audience of 300 entrepreneurs, community leaders, and aspiring business owners. The Community Skills and Repair Center had grown beyond their wildest dreams. They now operated 4 locations, employed 43 people, and had trained over 1,500 individuals in valuable skills. But more importantly, they had sparked a movement of community-based economic development that was spreading across the Midwest. Success, Marcus began, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who had discovered universal truths, is not about accumulating wealth for its own sake. True success, as Napoleon Hill taught us, lies in providing useful service to others while achieving our own definite major purpose. He shared their journey, the burning desire that started it all, the mastermind alliance that multiplied their capabilities, the applied faith that carried them through obstacles, and the organized thinking that enabled sustainable growth. But he emphasized that the real master key was the principle Hill called the Golden Rule, treating others as you would want to be treated. Every principle we applied came back to this fundamental truth. Marcus continued, when we focused on serving our community, the community supported us. When we invested in others' success, our own success followed naturally. In the audience, Sarah beamed with pride as she managed the center's finances from her new office. Robert had become the head of their technical training programs and was teaching automotive skills to the next generation. Janet had established partnerships with 3 universities to accredit their programs, creating pathways for students to continue their education. But the most powerful testament to their success sat in the front row, Mrs. Henderson, now in her 80s, surrounded by dozens of their students who had gone on to start their own businesses, create jobs, and transform their own communities. As Marcus concluded his speech, he shared the same truth that Napoleon Hill had discovered decades earlier. The principles of success are available to everyone. They require no special talent, no privileged background, no extraordinary luck. They require only the decision to apply them consistently, the faith to persist through challenges, and the commitment to serve others while pursuing your own dreams. The thunderous applause that followed wasn't just appreciation for his words, it was recognition of the timeless truth he represented. In a world full of complexity and confusion, the simple principles that Marcus had discovered in that Detroit library remained as powerful as ever. Later that evening, as the 4 founders sat together in their original center, Marcus pulled out that first piece of paper where he had written his definite major purpose. The ink had faded, but the words remained clear. I will become a successful entrepreneur, creating a business that serves my community and provides employment for at least 50 families. We did more than achieve our goal, Sarah observed. We exceeded it. But this is just the beginning, Janet added. Think about what we can accomplish in the next 5 years. Robert smiled, his English now fluent and confident. Hill was right. When you help others succeed, your own success is unlimited. Marcus nodded, looking around at his partners, his mastermind alliance that had become his closest friends. The real master key isn't any single principle. It's the decision to live by all of them, every day, in service to something greater than ourselves. Outside their window, the Detroit skyline gleamed with possibility. Somewhere in the city, another person might be discovering Napoleon Hill's timeless principles, ready to begin their own journey from ordinary circumstances to extraordinary achievement. The master key to success, Marcus had learned, wasn't hidden in some secret vault. It was available to anyone willing to accept responsibility for their own destiny and committed to serving others along the way. If the narrative is ready for narration, or if there's any adjustment needed, just let me know.